Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amina and I'm finally sharing my labour and delivery story, which I'm really excited about. Now I'm ready to talk about what went down and how it went down. So as you may see from the title, I had a home birth, and yes, it was planned. It was a planned home birth. I'll tell you all about why I decided to go down that route. But just to give a bit of a backstory, I will leave my link to the first birth story over here or down in the description. I had my son Sufyan about 1.5 years ago, last April, not last April now, 2020 April, and it was at the peak of lockdown. It was when the pandemic had just begun, probably a month or two ago. Before that, and no one knew what the hell this virus was. No one knew what impact it had on babies, on mothers, on pregnant women, on old people. Like, all we knew was people were dying, and it was just so difficult, so traumatic, such a stressful and anxious time, especially for someone who's pregnant and quite heavily pregnant. And we were told that we weren't allowed to have birth partners, and we were told that we weren't allowed to have anyone at our appointments, and it was just so scary at the time. Luckily, I was at the time a low risk. I had no issues in my pregnancy, so I was like, okay, well, I don't have any contact with hospitals apart from when I actually have to go and give birth. So that was really scary about, you know, what was going to happen when it went down at the time. So eventually when it did happen, you can watch the story if you want to find out more, but when it did happen, I ended up not being allowed to have a birth partner until the very end. So when I was actually like in the pushing part, they called my husband. He came, like, he was at home, he had to be sent home. He came in as quick as he could. He just about made it, and that was what happened. And it was quite traumatic in that sense. Luckily everything was okay in the end, but I decided this time around, that's not going to happen. If I can control it, that's not going to happen. And that's when I decided I'm going to go down the home birth route. So I practiced hypnobirthing during my first pregnancy and also during this one. And so for me, I just believed and I knew that I am able to birth my child by myself, unless obviously anything happens. Then of course you go down whatever route necessary. But for me, I knew that I could do it, and I knew that it was within my possibilities and within my capabilities because I've done it before. So when I found out I was pregnant with my second child, which I was really excited about, we planned it, and when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh my god, this is, because my Sufyan at the time was only about 9 months or 10 months, so I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be crazy. But I wanted 2 children that were really close by. I wanted to like struggle at one time and just kind of get that struggle over with, you know, for a couple of years, and just have that like career gap, and just have that a few years where I'm just dealing with nappies and sleepless nights rather than kind of dragging it out over many years. So that was like my plan. And so yes, when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, yeah, home birth for sure. And the midwife group that I was assigned to is the same one that I was assigned to for my first pregnancy, and they are, so it's at Newham General Hospital. I mentioned this in my last video as well, so it's where I was actually born, so it's super cool. They are an amazing midwife group. They are the group practice midwife group, and I'll leave their links down below, because if you are planning to give birth there, contact them. They don't have a lot of space because they're quite a small group, but they are the best midwives in the world. Like, I cannot commend them enough. Like, honestly, like, they made my experience the best experience last time and this time as well. So anyway, I found out I was pregnant. I called my midwife, the same one as last time. I was like, hi, I'm pregnant. And she was like, oh my god, she was excited for me. And so she took me under her wing again, which was really good. Really happy about that. It just made me feel really comfortable because I knew what she was like before. And so I knew that she was going to be amazing this time around as well. And I was low risk, so that was not a problem. And then she said, look, do you want to go down the home birth route? And she gave me that option. And I was like, umming and ahhing. As you can imagine, it's not something that a lot of people in my community do. It's not something that I know anyone to have done. So I thought, I don't know if it's the best thing to do. But she was like, look, you can always change on the day if you don't want to. Let's just go down the home birth route for now. Okay, I'm back. Maria just woke up and she's on the floor here playing, so you might hear some sounds, bear with her. Anyway, where was I? I think I was talking about my midwife and like her telling me that home birth is a good idea, and I said okay, but I was like still in 2 minds, sort of, you know, I'll decide in the future, I'll see how it goes and I'll go from there. So anyway, 9 months went. I left work 2-3 weeks before my deadline, for my due date, and then things started happening. So I started to receive packages for my home birthing. I received this like massive big box. I'll put a picture here on video, and like massive big box with like a suturing kit, pads, like floor cleaning things, and I was just like, oh my god, like this is getting real. Last time I got asked loads of questions about the flaxseed and dates thing that I told you guys I was taking. So I'll clarify it here. So dates, I was eating between 4 to 5 dates, or depending on how big your dates are, but about 4 to 5 dates a day, from as early as possible really, but towards the end is where the research shows that it has the biggest impact. Bear in mind that don't eat dates if you're diabetic, or if you have any sugar problems, or speak to your midwife, make sure that you're okay. I have no risks whatsoever, so it's absolutely fine for me. I eat dates on a regular basis anyway as a little snack, so it's absolutely fine for me. And then flaxseed, essentially flaxseed or linseed, ground them up, so literally grind them up, or you can buy the ground one if you want, and then just take 2 or 3, I think I took like 2 tablespoons, so quite a lot, 2 tablespoons, put it into some milk, a glass of milk, warmed the milk up, and I drank the milk like that. Last time when I was pregnant, what I did was I just took like a few tablespoons, put it into a bit of water, and just like had like a shot. It really doesn't matter how you have it. You can put it into cereal, whatever is easiest, or smoothie, however you can consume it, have it like that. For me, I like the taste of it in milk, so I had it in milk, but you can really have it however you want. And the flax seeds you start to take around 35 weeks, 36 weeks. What it does is it makes like a gelatinous layer, so when the baby comes out, it literally slides out, and I'm not joking, that's literally what it feels like. There's no pain, just bloop. So yeah, but again, anything you take, any of these things that I've been mentioning are things that I've done my own research about, and things that I know work for my body through my first pregnancy. So if you're unsure, speak to your midwife, speak to someone, a health professional, to make sure that it's safe and it's okay for you. So just putting that out there. Hey guys, tis I. I'm editing, and I remember that I forgot something that actually is really important to the story, and I forgot to mention it last time as well, so I'm here to make sure that I add it in. So I did something called colostrum collecting, which is basically when you collect the milk that you've produced, the body's producing before you actually give birth. So colostrum is the early milk, basically. It's the milk that is quite high in antibodies. It's quite yellow as well. If you look at it, it's quite yellow, and yeah, it's very high in antibodies, and it's the milk that the baby drinks from when it's first born for about 2 days before your actual milk comes through. So yeah, it drinks that for the first 2 days or so, 3 days, and then your milk comes through, and then it's now normal milk, it's not colostrum anymore. So colostrum is produced from around 6 months or so, I would say. So you might notice that you start to leak a bit more, and obviously like your breasts might feel a bit bigger. So from that point you can actually collect your colostrum, and you know how they say breast milk is liquid gold, right? It is. Colostrum is like liquid. What's better than gold? Not diamonds. What's better than gold? I don't know how to, like, it's liquid gold times 1,000, because you literally have a 3-month window to get it, and you also have 2 days once the baby's born. So it's so high in antibody. So anyway, I collected my colostrum the first time I was pregnant, and I collected this time as well. And the reasons why, if just to do your own research, because I can't spend all day talking about it, but the reasons why I did it is a couple of reasons. So firstly, it can help with milk production itself, because you're stimulating the milk, so that's number one. Number two, can help with bringing on labour at the right time, on time, because it tells your body that your body's ready for it. So that's a good thing. And lastly, it's actually more of a protective, precautionary reason. If you did end up having to give birth early, and you end up with a premature baby, or like you couldn't feed for whatever reason for the first couple of days, it means that your baby has got your milk. And I said to myself, you know what, like, you never know what's going to happen. I think it's one of those things, as I was saying in the video, like, always prepare for the unknown. I was like, if for whatever reason, like, the baby needs my milk before I'm able to give it, or for whatever reason, I know that I've got lots of this milk stored in the freezer, and it can stay there for like 6 months, or like more than that, about a year in the freezer.
So I collected it, and actually it came in handy this time around. So when she was born, Marie was born, she didn't actually latch on for the first like 12 hours. She wasn't interested. She just wasn't hungry, to be honest. She wasn't crying. She was just asleep. She wasn't bothered. So I was really worried because Sophiane latched on like straight away as soon as he was born. So what my midwife said to me was like, she knew I had colostrum. So she said to me, look, take your colostrum, defrost it, and just heat it up, like make sure it's warm enough, and then just give it to her. Like, so it's in the tube, it's in the what's it called, not test tubes, what are they called? Yeah, it's in the tubes, not test tubes. Oh, I can't, the word's gone. It's in the tubes anyway. So it's in there. Syringes, that's the better word. It's in the syringes. So she's like, just feed her from the syringe straight away. The syringes are tiny. So I was like, okay. So I fed her 2 ml as soon as she was born. So that's 2 syringes, and she drank it. So I knew she was good. I knew she was fine. And then she didn't bother with breast milk. And then when she was ready to latch on, which was a few hours later in the morning, she latched on, so she was fine. But you know, like I said, if you have a premature baby, or you know, if anything happens and you can't feed, it's a good idea to have this milk stored and backed up, if that's something that you'd like to do. Like, no pressure, but it's something that I chose to do. So, and I feel like no one knows about this. Like, I told my friend about it. She gave birth recently, and I gave her like lots of the syringes. They're quite expensive. I gave her loads of the syringes, and she was like, oh, why have I never heard about this? And I was like, no one tells you. I mean, I just did some research. I just found it like on the corner of an internet. It's nothing that's it's not advertised at all. So yeah, so colostrum harvesting is there's so many. Oh, and also recently Sophiane was sick, and I gave him some of my colostrum, and he got better really quickly. So it's something that like is so high in antibodies, and it's so protective for the baby. And like I said, like I can't get it now unless I'm pregnant again. Like I can't get it. So even though I'm breastfeeding, like that's not the milk that I'm making at the moment. So it's like liquid gold times 1,000. So if you are pregnant, Google, you can find out how you do it. Google colostrum harvesting, and try to buy some of the syringes. You can get it from eBay's really expensive. I got it from like a medical warehouse. I googled it. I got it from like a medical warehouse. I got like 100 or something, or 500. However, I got a lot. That was a box I had from my last pregnancy, and I still got loads. And I gave some to a friend. So yeah, I thought I'd add that in because that is part of the story.
Anyway, so due date comes. It's 40 weeks. And I haven't really felt any twinges. I haven't really felt anything that much yet. Considering last time I did feel some things here and there. Didn't feel anything, and I was a bit like, okay, that means I could be late. I might be a week overdue. And they say that your second baby is the quickest baby, so I was expecting it to be a really quick labour and everything to be, you know, really smooth. And oh, I didn't mention, I don't know the gender, by the way, so I didn't find out the gender the second time around as well. I really wanted a girl because I have a boy first, so I wanted a girl, of course, but I was happy regardless. I was grateful regardless, but obviously I wanted a girl just because. So at this point I had packed my hospital bag and everything. I was just waiting. So my midwife came to my house for my appointment, so they do all at-home appointments as well. They're amazing. This group is amazing. The midwife practice group. So they came, she came the day, 40 days, she came 40 days, so 40 days, she came 40 weeks, exactly 40 weeks, I think it was 40 weeks and 0 days. So on that day she came for a checkup, she checked my urine sample, she checked blood pressure, everything was all good. And I said to her, I'm gonna give birth, like I can feel something, I'm gonna give birth today, or I think I said tomorrow, I think it's today. And she was like, okay, cool. She said, do you want to sweep? I said, no, I don't want to sweep. For me, like, I just want things to happen as naturally as possible until the point where it's not safe and we need to take medical like measures. So I said, let me, no sweep, let's just go for it. So anyway, that was in the morning at 9 o'clock. No, actually it was a bit early. She came at 8:30. That was 8:30 on Monday morning. So on the day Maria was actually born, right? So that was in the morning. I said to her, I'm gonna give birth today. Watch. Anyway, that same day, I started a accelerator course for my business, The Page Doctor. So I have a business that I've been running for about a year now, doing amazingly, doing really, really well. I started a course, and it was the Welcome Week, and it's all online because obviously COVID, so everything was online. So I started it. It was the second day. No, it was Tuesday. Sorry, it was the second day. And I started the program. So I just started the King's Accelerator program for my business, and I logged into the meetings, and you know, I was in a meeting from 9 o'clock, just chatting away, you know, having a great time. Little did I know, I was actually in labor. I was in early labor. I was having, like, I would call it period pain contractions. So, you know, how they are, period pains, kind of dull pains. I was having that every so often. So it was like, it would happen and then it would go away, and it would happen and go away. And I thought, okay, maybe it's just period pains, no big deal. And I was breathing through them. So it got to a point around, I would say around 11 o'clock, where I was actually having to breathe through them. So it was getting a little bit painful, but I just kind of brushed aside. I was so focused on this accelerator program. I was like, no, nothing's going to deter me from this program today. So I was, you know, taking part in it. I had meetings, I was chatting, I was really active and proactive. And then when there was a break, I said, let's go and get some towels, because we didn't have any towels, and obviously we're doing a home birth, so I wanted to make sure that, you know, any towels we had were going to go in the bin afterwards, and we didn't have to, like, you know, keep washing them, whatever. So let's go and get some towels. So we left the house, went for a walk, went just down the road, we were like 10-15 minutes away, bought some towels, and we also bought some, so my midwife told me that you can get these dog training mats for pets, for dogs, I think, and they're mats that you use, like absorbent mats, pads, like quite large pads that you use when you're training your pets. So should they get those, they're really absorbent, and they're quite cheap as well, considering, like, compared to if you were to get actual pads that are made for humans. So I went to Wilco and I bought some of those. I mean, the ones I got were kind of small. They're not too bad size-wise, but they're, you know, really cheap, and they're good. Obviously, they don't allow liquid to go through. So that was perfect. So anyway, bought those and then came home. Bear in mind, like, my contractions, I didn't know this at that point, but obviously I was in labour, and then I kept breathing through them. So I was in Asda, we were just going for a little shop, walking around, got milk, got some bread. I said to my husband, let's get some cake and some biscuits and stuff, some snacks for the midwives, because it's happening tonight. Even though I didn't think I was in labour, but I was like, something's gonna happen, so let's just get something, because when they come over, they're gonna want something to eat. So let's keep something at home. If it's today, if it's tomorrow, if it's the day after, we've got something. So anyway, in my head, it's still not labour, right? It's still just, I don't know, Braxton Hicks, whatever. So I, breathing through them, every time that one of these contractions happened, or pain, in my head I just thought it was like period pains. Every time it happened, I just breathe through them, and that's why hypnobirthing is so good, because it teaches you that it's all about this. It's all about this, and it really is. Because if I had told myself I was in labour, I would be in more pain. But the fact that I told myself, like, it's just period pain, it's not a big deal, breathe through them, I just went the whole day like that, essentially. Anyway, came home, it was 3 o'clock past, had lunch, 4 o'clock, still in these meetings, and then it was around 4:30, and I was in one of the meetings, and I was having a conversation, and I just felt like I had to kind of put my camera off and stop speaking and, like, really breathe through them properly. And that's when it starts, like, kicking and ramping in a little bit, and it's like 4:35 at this point, right, 5 p.m. on the same day. So then I said, right, maybe I should message my midwife, maybe just tell her, like, this is happening, what does this mean? So I messaged her and I was like, I can feel quite strong contraction, like quite strong period pain feelings. What do you think? Like, what do you think? She was like, time them and see what happens. So I timed them, and it was my phone's over there, but I've got the timing on my phone on the Freya app, which is the app that comes with the positive hypnobirthing pack, which is what I did. And I timed them, and it was like every 8 minutes, and it was quite consistently every 8 minutes, and it lasted for like 30 to 45 seconds. So it was very consistent at this point. And I told her, and she was like, all right, call your parents, send Sufyan to your parents, get ready for, like, that it could happen today. So call your parents, get them to take him, and, you know, whatever. Because she's like, it could be really quick, and if it is really quick, you don't want to end up with Sufyan hanging around and, you know, obviously in a situation. So I said, okay. I called my parents, and then my dad came. He got here in about 45 minutes, I think maybe an hour, and he took Sufyan. So at this point, it's like 6 o'clock, right? So it's still maybe 6:30 actually. Sufyan was taken away. His bag was packed, like, for the night to stay at my parents, and he went. At this point, I was like, I accepted the fact that I was in labour, and this was like 6:30 p.m. Okay, that's when I finally accepted it, because my contractions were getting really regular, and that was the moment I was like, okay, this is it. I haven't sat down yet, by the way. Since the morning, I went for a walk, went to Asda, had meetings, had made lunch, I made like a wrap for us. Obviously Sufyan's around, so playing with him. And I think that really helps. And there is research to show that the more active you are during labour, the quicker it is and the more that it progresses. So that's something to remember. Don't follow what you see on movies, sitting down, putting your legs up. Like, if you can, try to be as active as possible, and that's what's really, really important. So yeah, walking around all day, and then as soon as I realised that I'm in labour, I ramped up the walking. So I was just like pacing up and down in my apartment, like up and down, just walking. And every single time I had a contraction, I would just stop, breathe through it, and then just keep on walking. Like, I'm like, I know this helps, I know that walking really helps, so I'm not going to stop moving now. And then as my dad knocks on the door to pick Sufyan up, my waters break. So this is like 6:30, as I said. My dad literally knocks on the door, presses, calls in the intercom, waters break, and I'm like, okay, this is it, it's going down today. So I think that's when I finally accepted that I was going to have a home birth, because until that point, I was still, obviously I had decided, but I was still like not certain whether I was actually going to go down that route or not. And I think by that point when my water had broken, I was like, well, I'm not going to go to hospital now. I think I'm here now, everything's comfortable, I'm in my space, let me just go for it. Like, let me just try my best to do it here. If I can't, then obviously I can get taken to hospital, no big deal. So told my midwife, this happened. She's like, okay, call the birthing centre. So I called the birthing centre, because that's like an in-between between a hospital and a doing it at home. The birthing centre is where you don't have doctors. So you've got midwives, obviously, you've got your nurses, but you don't have doctors there. So it's as sort of less hospitalised, as least hospitalised as possible. So that was where I was like, okay, if I did go into hospital, it would be at the birthing centre where there's no doctors, and it's just sort of as like calm and natural as possible. No offense to doctors, by the way. My sister's a doctor. I have nothing against doctors, but what I have experienced from my first birth is that doctors can be really pushy and, how can I put it, quite medical, obviously. And one thing that I noticed was that there's going off track, but one thing I noticed with like speaking to doctors when I was in labour and speaking to like midwives, is that doctors are very much, let's just get this done. Like, they're looking at the end product as you've given birth. So regardless of how you get there, whether you have a C-section, whether you have an epidural, whether you go natural, like, it's not of their interest. They just want to make sure that you have a safe, healthy baby, safe, healthy mum, you know, obviously. And that's the most important thing, of course. But whereas a midwife, like, the midwives always think about, the ones I've experienced anyway, always think about trying to make it as natural as possible, trying to make it as following your birth plan. So I want to have a natural birth, so how are we going to ensure that that occurs? How are we going to ensure that we reduce the chances of needing a C-section, reduce the chances of needing any intervention? And that's their thinking. Like, when I was in labour the first time, a doctor pulled out what do you call them, forceps, and he literally put it in my face. He was like, if you don't push, we're gonna have to use this forceps. And that's not conducive to the progression of labour, and that's something that a midwife would never do. And that's why I would rather stay away from medical professionals during that time, unless you actually need it, which obviously there are instances, and in that instance I wouldn't refuse anything. Anyway, going off track. So that's why the birthing centre was my second choice. So I called the birthing centre, I'm like, hey, in labour. They were like, okay, we're going to send the home midwives to you right now. So the first midwife came, she came probably around 7:30, so about an hour after that, she came, knocked on the door, she brought some stuff with her, no gas and air yet, but she brought like her books, I think she brought like the heart monitor, and a few like notes and whatever. So she was here at 7:30ish, 8ish, she was here. At this point my contractions are getting a lot stronger, but I'm still breathing through them. Like, I can speak just like this. So I would have a contraction, I cannot speak during them, and as soon as it finishes, I'm back to like this. So it's funny because she was like asking me questions like, how, you know, how's your first son, how, like, just random question, how are you, what do you do, blah blah, and I'm like, hang on a second, breathe, like in 2, 3, 4, 5, and then out 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'd be like, so I work in this and I do this and I have a YouTube channel and like, you know, blah blah, and then hold on a second, into literally, if I had a recording, that was what it was like just into, hold on 1 second, and then just back to like nothing's happened. It's very weird. Like labor is so weird like that. It's, you know, when you hear someone say 24 hours of labor, you're not in pain for 24 hours. It's like pain and then you're absolutely normal. Pain, absolutely normal pain. It's just like, that's what it's like. So if you think in your head, all I have to do is get through the next 45 seconds, I'll be out of it and I'll be back to normal. And that's my mentality. Like that was what I was thinking the whole time. It's just 45 seconds of intense pain. Don't get me wrong, intense pain. But I'll be absolutely fine at the end of it. And that's kind of how I went through with it. Anyway, so then I did have the, what do you call them? I did have a TENS machine, so I only put it on like towards the end. I kind of just forgot about it and I was like breathing through and I was fine with breathing. So it could be helpful. I definitely recommend it for someone if you want to try to go down the like natural pain relief route. It was helpful, would recommend it, but I wouldn't say that it was like made a huge difference. Like I wouldn't have not been able to do it without it, if that makes sense. So anyway, then the next two midwives come, a student midwife that has been following me the whole time, she came, and then I think the lead midwife, if that's what you call her, the lead midwife came as well. So there was 3 people here, student midwife and 2 qualified midwives. So 3 midwives were at my beck and call for like, you know, the whole time, which you do not get in hospital. So if anything, it's actually better. So anyway, the midwives came. When the midwives all came, by that point it was probably like 9 o'clock, right? And that's when gas and air arrived. It came with the lead midwife. So the gas and air arrived with her and she gave it to me. So I probably had it for like half an hour or something towards the end. At this point I was in complete pain. Like even that bit where you can speak, I wasn't even speaking. Like you're just in pain. Contractions are happening quite quickly, and then eventually I was like to her, are you going to check how dilated I am? And she was like, no, I'm not going to check that. Heart rate is fine, you're looking good, your body will know what to do. And I loved that. Like I loved that. I did not at one point did anyone check how dilated I was. I thought they always had to check, because last time they were just checking all the time, and actually, you know, every time that they do check, they're increasing the risk of infection, and it's not a nice procedure, the whole checking thing. So it's again inhibiting your progression of labor. And I just loved that fact that they were just so accepting of, I didn't even have to tell them what my birth plan was. The way that they were thinking was exactly what I would have wanted in the first place. So that was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. I absolutely loved them for that. Anyways, then one of the midwives that was there, the one that came first, she was like, oh, I asked her, like, you know, what is it a long night for you? Like, what, you know, were you just at home? What were you up to? Because they're on call and they only get called in if someone's in labour. I was like, oh, how, you know, sorry, I had to call you out of your bed, kind of thing. She was like, oh, it's fine. My mom's birthday today. She's having a little thing. I was like, oh, and I was like, oh, what's her name? She's like, oh, her name's Maria. And I was like, what? And me and my husband were like, if we have a girl, we're thinking to call her Maria. Like, what a coincidence. So that was really cute. And in the end, when we found out we had a girl, we obviously called her Maria, and I'll tell you why and where the name came from at the end. But yeah, so then midwife came, gave me gas and air, and then eventually, like probably half an hour later, I was like, I need to push. And probably 3 or 4 pushes later, Maria was born. So she was born at like 10:30ish, I can't remember the exact time, but like 10:30. So imagine, right? 5 o'clock I accepted I was in labour, 6:30 Sufyan was taken, 9 o'clock the midwives arrived, 10:30 baby's out. Like it was so quick. It was ridiculously quick. Oh, by the way, I was right here. So if you want to know where I was right here in the living room, on the floor. That's where I gave birth. I decided not to get a water bath because, like I said, I just hadn't decided whether or not I wanted to have a home birth, and I thought there's no point of spending 200, I think it's like £200 to rent a water bath. You rent it, is it called a water bath? I think so. You rent it out, you're not even guaranteed that you can use it, because what if something goes wrong and then you have to go to hospital? That's out the window. You need to fill a water bath with litres of water and then have to empty it. I don't have a garden, like I can't, I don't want to risk spilling that much water. And it was just too much faff. By the time the water bath was filled up, I would have given birth anyway. That's how quick my birth was. So it was just a waste of money for me, and I just thought, if I want to go in water, I've got a bathtub, I can go in the bathtub. Like, I don't need a water bath. I didn't use one last time, so I was like, I don't really need one this time as well. So that was my, I guess, my thinking around it. So yeah, then anyway, she was born, and I was like, what is she? What, is it a girl? Is it a boy? And she's like, let me check. She checked, and she was a girl. And we were so, like, I feel like that was the defining moment. Like, that was the moment that really got me, because I really wanted a girl, and I thought I was gonna have a boy. I had no symptoms all pregnancy, like not even one. Every time I went for a scan, I was like, they're gonna tell me there's nothing there, because there's no symptom. Like, it's nothing. No nausea, thank God. No nausea, no, like literally just nothing. Last time I had nausea, I was a bit of vomiting, I had melasma, so like my neck was really dark, my stomach went really dark. Like, I knew I was pregnant, you know, obviously. But this time I had no inkling until, like, obviously I knew I was pregnant, but I had no signs of it until I was showing around 5-6 months. Like, until that point, I wouldn't have known I was pregnant at all. Like, it was just nothing, absolutely nothing, which I'm grateful for, but that's why I was convinced that it was a boy, because, you know, they say girls, you have nausea and you have morning sickness a lot more, so I thought, definitely going to be another boy. Anyway, so it was a girl, and then at that point I was like, yeah, it's gonna be Maria. So Maria is my mum's name, M-A-R-I-A. So I always knew that if I had a girl, I'd call her after my mum, because I love the quality that my mum have, and I think that it is a fitting name, and I want her to be similar to my mum, because I think I'm quite similar to my mum as well. So I want her to be, and I want her to find my mum as an inspiration. I want her to, I guess, live by my mum's qualities and characteristics. So that was the inspiration behind the name. And then obviously the fact that the midwife had the same name for her mum as well was like, yeah, this is just, it's just meant to be. This is just the universe telling me to call her Maria. So that was that. And then we had delayed cord clamping. So that was something I wanted last time. Wasn't allowed to, like, doctors didn't want to hang around for a while. They just obviously cut the cord quickly. So this time I was. We waited for about an hour or so, and then the placenta was birthed, and then that was it really, just chilled out. Like, honestly, like, it was so anticlimactic in the sense that she was born, you know, wow, and then it was just like, I'm at home. There was nothing to it. There's no discharge to the postnatal centre, I don't know, write your notes, go to the bathroom in the hospital. Like, there was none of that faff. It was just, do you want a shower? Okay, shower's over there. Where's your towel? It's over there. Where's your, like, everything was just there. There was no hospital bag that I needed. Like, everything was just there. And that was what I loved about it the most, the fact that after I gave birth, I held her for a little bit. I gave her to Mohammed, and then I was like, I'm going for a shower. And I had a shower in my bath, in my shower, and then came out, and then we had a bit of food. I was really hungry, really thirsty. Had a bit of food, had some Lucozade. I bought that before, specifically because it's quite high in sugar. It's quite sweet, and after birth you obviously need energy. So I bought Lucozade specifically, and I also bought some chocolate. These are things I don't normally buy, but specifically after birth, you are so low in sugar and you're so, like, depleted of energy. I just needed something that was going to give me that kick straight away. So I had Lucozade and some chocolate, which at that point tasted like heaven. Food after birth tastes so good. So I had that. The midwives hung around for about 2 or 3 hours. They left at like 2 a.m. and they took everything with them. There was nothing left for me to clean, like nothing. They took everything with them in like those hospital bags. They took everything with them, and they had like the biscuits and everything. So I was so glad that I got it that day, because what were the chances that happened? And yeah, it was just a really like calm time. I had my diffuser on with some essential oils. I had my hypnobirthing my hypnobirthing like affirmations in the background, and the lights were off as well. I had only one light on that side where they were taking notes, but lights were off. I had my gas in air about half an hour or so, and it just was so calm, and I was at home. And then afterwards, that was it. Like, that was literally it. And they left, and it was just the 3 of us, because Sofiane was still at my parents' house for the night. And at this point, it was like 1 a.m, 2 a.m. Got into bed, and we literally just went to sleep. That was it. And then the next day, my parents came over in the morning, and then we came in the evening. Went to my parents' house in the evening, and I stayed there for about a month and a half or so. I was there for about a month and a half, and then came back here. So it's been like crazy. It's just been an insane ride. Like, I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm going to cut out the stuff about having a second child, like with quite a young first child. I think that's for a whole new video. But just to summarize it, it's been going really well. Sufyan's been super aware of her and really accepting of her. He hasn't shown a single sign of jealousy, thankfully. When she cries, he tells me. When she's awake, he lets me know, even if I don't notice. He gives her the dummy. He gives her space, so if I'm holding her, he won't bother me. As soon as I put her down, he'll come to me. So he's really like aware, very emotionally aware. He'll kiss her. If she's crying, he'll hug her. I think I've made it a point to really give him one-to-one time, and I've been very explicit, like so on it, just because I don't want him to feel like, because it's a new baby, I'm not giving him any time. So that probably helps. But I'll do a new video about, maybe I'll do part 2 about how I've kind of dealt with and how I've ensured that child number 1 hasn't, I guess, not suffered, but you know what I mean, like child number 1 doesn't feel like they've been left out because of the second child. But yeah, I don't think I've missed anything out. I think that's pretty much it. In our culture, and I know loads of cultures have this, after you give birth, you go to your parents' house, or your parents will come to you, and they look after you, essentially. So for 40 days, I did it for about maybe 50 days or so, but for about 40 days, you don't leave the house. I mean, I left the house, but you don't leave the house. Your mum makes you every meal you eat. They look after the child, the newborn child, for the most part. All you need to do is breastfeed, shower, and eat, and sleep. So that was amazing. It was such a nice break to have, and it was really, like, it's something that I really value about our culture. I think before I had a child, I thought, oh, I'm not going to do that, I don't need that. But once I had a child, I realized actually it's such a valuable thing, and it's one of the reasons why, like, postnatal depression and things like that are quite low in those kind of communities when you've done those 40 days. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but having that support and being able to like have a shower and eat and sleep, and those are things that a lot of the time we are lacking on when you have a child, and that's why you can end up sort of losing yourself. So if you do have the opportunity to do something like that, I would highly recommend taking it, because it can really help with mental health, and it's one of the reasons why I know that I was able to stay sane, because I had that support. Otherwise, I would have just broken down, I think. So definitely take it if you are able to. If you have any questions, I might do a Q&A if there are loads of questions down below. But I'm planning on doing a lot more sort of day in the lives with 2 children, so hopefully you guys will see a bit more of that. Maybe I'll bring her now, actually. She's awake, she's with Mohammed at the moment while I just finish off filming. But yeah, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I really hope that you learned something new from my labour and delivery story. For anyone that's pregnant right now, I would say, like, my top tip is know your stuff. Know what happens during labour. Know what your options are. I learned about a C-section because it could be a possibility. I learned about an epidural because it could be a possibility. Like, no matter what your preferences are, anything can happen. Like, I wanted to give birth at home. I could have ended up on the other side of the spectrum, and that would have been absolutely okay, because that was the best thing to do at that time. And I think a lot of people kind of have their mindset like, I want to have a home birth, and then don't accept anything else could happen, and that's when things can go that way. So definitely make sure that, like, you know what is happening to your body. You know how labor progresses. It progresses when you're not scared. It progresses when you're breathing. It progresses when you're not tightening your muscles. It progresses when you walk around. Like, those are things that you need to keep in mind. And you know, good luck if you are in that position. If you're going to give birth soon, best wishes to you. No matter how easy someone can make it look, it's so challenging. And the after part of birth as well, no one speaks about breastfeeding and how difficult it is, and like the different things that can happen during breastfeeding, and like postpartum contractions and the pain and everything. Like, that's just after birth. That's, you know, birth has happened. You think, oh yeah, it's all like flowers and roses, but afterwards it's so difficult as well. And you know, we make it look, some women make it look easy. I know that people will say to me like, you make it look so simple. And it's challenging, like it's hard. It's just sometimes I feel like you have to just accept it and ride that wave. And everything in life is a phase. Labor is a phase. It will end in the next couple of hours. No matter what the ending is, it will end. Your child teething, your child having a bad night is a phase. Like it will end. You'll be out of that. You'll be out of the thick of it, and you'll be, you know, able to blossom afterwards. So if you have any questions, let me know. I did the positive hypnobirthing company. Is that the right way? The positive birth hypnobirthing company. I've forgotten it now, but you know what I mean. I'll leave the link for it down below. I did their hypnobirthing course, absolutely amazing. And they actually, by the way, I need to rate them for this. I didn't mention it earlier. They actually provided the course for free to me and to, I think they had like 50 other spaces, or maybe 100, I can't remember, because I'm black, and the maternal death, is it the maternal death, baby's maternal death or maternal death? I think it's maternal death. So death of mothers who are pregnant during labour or pregnancy is much higher than non-black and ethnic minorities. And there's a lot of research on this. I'm not going to speak about it much now, but because of that, they actually had a program where they were giving this hypnobirthing pack for free, and I applied for it like it wasn't a competition. It was just write your name and first come first serve, I think it was. And that's how I got it this time. Last time I paid for it myself, but this time I got it for free, so I must big them up for that, because I think that's a really, really important thing for anyone to be providing. And you know, when companies say that they're all about Black Lives Matter, like this is the action, this is them doing something. So for that, I really rate them. I'll leave the links for any apps that I used and all the websites that I spoke about and the hypnobirthing, etc. I'll leave them, and for my midwives as well. I've got to go now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one.